Bella is a very ambitious, smart, and intelligent young woman who goes to Los Angeles with the ambition of becoming the next big porn star.
Welcome to WatchMojo's Poppin the Culture, your weekly entertainment check-in. And me, well, I'm your host with the most, Mojo, of course. It's me, it's Mr. Hollywood himself, Matt Demers. We got such a great show coming your way, as always. I got an interview with the director and star of the much buzzed about movie Pleasure. Do not want to miss this chat. But first, we're going to jump into things. Here's your Hollywood headlines. All right, as we do each and every show, we kick things off with a look at some of the more notable headlines over there in La La Land. I need help breaking it down. And guess who is back? Finally, we got her. Hey, Phoebe, how are you?
Good, how are you?
You were like the busiest person, which is a good thing, right?
Good, but I missed doing this, so I'm happy to be back.
I saved a topic just for you because I know you are big in the fantasy genre.
Yes.
Not to say you're living in your own little fantasy. What I mean is you enjoy fantasy programs. I'm not wrong about this, right? Lord of the Rings, that kind of stuff.
You're not wrong, yeah. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, huge Game of Thrones fan, recently loving The Witcher. I love fantasy.
Yeah, Witcher, that's another one that I'm really excited about the new seasons coming up. But speaking of new seasons, Game of Thrones, you touched on it. We are finally getting a good look at that prequel series, House of the Dragon. So we have the kind of what I call an extended trailer, if you will. We don't get too much out of it, but we get a bit more flavor rather than that tease. I don't know. What's your initial thoughts on this? Because I know a lot of people, after that very divisive season 8 of Game of Thrones, the excitement is, I would say, probably the midway point. What says you?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like generally excitement is at the midway point, but I'm super excited for it. Watching the trailer really brought me back into the world of that story. Just like the visuals, the cinematography, everything about it. It looks exactly like Game of Thrones, essentially. Yeah. So it got me really excited. I loved seeing Matt Smith. I'm so excited to see him in that role.
Me too.
And I'm really excited about, kind of delving deeper into the history of, the Iron Throne and the Targaryen family with all these new characters. So I'm really anxious to see, and I hope that, I don't think it's the same showrunners, but they learned from their mistakes in the last couple of seasons of Game of Thrones and really make this an amazing show.
Yeah, no, and it is based on the actual book, right? There's these episodes, anyways.
Yeah,
I think
they need source material because apparently they can't function without it.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, they got to go off the source material. So, is he writing new stuff? J.R.R.
No one knows. No one knows.
Like,
and he's getting quite old. Like
he is. We gotta put a typewriter in front of this guy and just let him go.
Exactly.
I don't know. But get a load of the budget here. This actually surprised me. $20 million per episode. What?
It's just the budget for TV lately in movies, of course, is just it's insane to me. Like even another kind of fantasy series that's coming out on my birthday on May 27th, Stranger Things. I heard that like the budget for every episode is in like the tens of millions of dollars, which maybe for Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon it's more necessary, but it's just insane to me. I can't wrap my head around it. It's crazy.
You are so right. Especially with the TV budgets compared to like, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. Forget it. Not even close. But yeah, with properties like House of Dragon, you're expecting those dragons to look amazing. So they better with that $20 million price tag.
They do. In the trailer, they really do. Like that was one thing that really struck me in the trailer was that I was like, it looks exactly like Game of Thrones, which is a good thing. And the special effects look amazing. So I'm so excited to see that.
I'm the same as you. I got the same Game of Thrones vibe. So let's hope it could be up there, hold a candle to the original show and keep us entertained because we've been waiting for something new to fill that void since the original left.
I guess like Wheel of Time kind of filled a bit of that void, the first season, bringing us back into that fantasy realm. But, you know, Game of Thrones is such a unique show that I think that this will really scratch the itch that a lot of people have for the, you know, harkening back to the first couple of amazing seasons of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, you're excited about those fantasy genres. I'm really excited about a movie coming up because I don't want to call myself a super fan, but I'm a big fan of the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. And how have we not had a proper big screen biopic of Elvis until now? Well, it's coming. It's from director Baz Luhrmann. This is the one with Tom Hanks playing the Colonel, right? But here's what's got me excited about this, Phoebe, is that the Presley family, Elvis, Priscilla, Lisa Marie, Elvis's, the granddaughters, who I guess didn't meet Elvis when he was alive, but they've all given it their stamp of approval. They're all kind of blown away. Even people like Elvis's, I don't know if it was his lawyer, someone else associated with that family is saying, yeah, they nailed it. Great stuff. So that's got me excited when the family gives the stamp of approval. I don't know. Have you seen the trailers for this? Because it looks really great.
Yeah, the thing that I love about Baz Luhrmann is that all of his movies are so I don't even know how to just glamorous, shiny, polished. It's really just such a unique style. I'm so excited for this. When I heard that Austin Butler was announced, it was around the time that he was starring in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think that they announced that he was going to play Elvis, so it was quite a while ago. And I just think he has a really great look. He has that old Hollywood look to him. So that's really, really exciting. And when I hear that a family has, put their stamp of approval on a movie like this, it makes me so happy because it feels more ethical to watch. For example, last time we spoke, we talked about the Pam and Tommy series where Pamela Anderson hadn't given her stamp of approval for what I can only imagine was a horrible time in her life. So it just felt really unethical to watch. This, I'll feel really good watching it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And they're going to tackle, obviously, the good stuff, the bad stuff. Elvis had a very tumultuous life, but a crazy one. And the music's got me excited. You mentioned Baz, our director. He did all those shiny movies, as you alluded to, Moulin Rouge, Romeo and Juliet. I wanted to ask you about that quickly because that's one I very distinctly remember. This is the Leo DiCaprio. Who was it? Claire Danes?
Yes.
As Juliet? Do you remember this? What do you? Because I kind of liked it, but I remember the first time watching it being like, what? What is going on here?
I love that movie. When I watched that movie, I fell in love with the character Mercutio. Is that how you say it? I fell in love. I felt madly in love. It's such a great movie. And like I said, it's shiny, it's glamorous. And he also did The Great Gatsby. So that's to me, Baz Luhrmann, it's just jewels, diamonds, shiny. That's what I associate with him.
Yeah, no, it's great. My high school teacher, English teacher, refused to let us watch that in class, the Romeo and Juliet. And we were like, what? Why?
Why?
Yeah, they didn't think it was up to standards of Shakespeare. I don't know.
Okay.
Whatever, Miss Kirky. Okay. Me and Phoebe liked it.
Yeah, we love it.
All right, Phoebe, we're going to end things with some picks that we have for viewers, for things that they should be checking out or at least put on their radar. I have one, but I want to start with you. Is there anything that Phoebe's really liking or that maybe you're excited to check out?
Right now the final season of Better Call Saul is airing. So I have been watching that. I've been so excited to watch it every single week. I'm a huge fan of Breaking Bad. It's definitely up there, one of the best television series of all time. And the prequel series really lives up to the standards that was set by the original series. And it's just so fantastic. It's unbelievable. Bob Odenkirk is everything. He's everything.
He's so great, isn't he?
Yes.
He's had this late in his career kind of resurgence because he's been around for a long time.
I think it's kind of a misconception that he was successful later in life because he was writing on SNL when he was 25 years old. He's had a very successful career, but he has taken center stage in this series, and it just goes to show that he can play that leading man. He has the chops.
And when he had that health scare, everyone was like, "Oh my God, is he going to be okay?" So thank God he is okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know about this, Phoebe, but he's going to be doing another series after this on AMC as well. So excited.
I'll be watching.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his. I liked his. He was in that movie Nobody. It was kind of like from the people that did John Wick.
Yeah.
And he was like kicking butt. And there's a scene in a city bus. Man, he could do it all.
He's a movie star. And another show kind of in the similar vein, say what you will about me based on these picks, but another series that I've been watching and, finishing up is Ozark. They just released like the second half of the final season, and I watched it. Yeah. I finished it all last night, so it's still fresh in my mind, and it was quite good. It's just a really great performance by Jason Bateman, and it's a fabulous cast, and it's just a great show.
Yeah, Jason Bateman is so great. He's another one of those actors that I just can't get enough of. But he kind of plays the same character every time, but it's great.
Well, I don't know. I think he has a lot of range. I think he plays like, this character in Ozark, and then he also plays like in Arrested Development.
That's true. Yeah.
He has like such a good range. But we, like me and my family, we stan Jason Bateman. Like every time Jason Bateman has something new coming out, my mom texts me and she's like, Jason Bateman has a new movie coming out. You have to watch it so we could talk about it. It's just, we just love him.
And great on talk shows. If you ever want to go down a rabbit hole of like talk show appearances, watch some Jason Bateman on like Conan or Kimmel. He's so funny. Okay, my show quickly before we wrap up the Hollywood headlines that I got a sneak peek of. Actually, by the time this comes out, everyone could probably watch it. It's coming to Amazon Prime, and it is the resurgence of The Kids in the Hall. That's right. We're Canadian, so we might know this a little bit more than people, but I think it was out there and the rest of the world. It's from Lorne Michaels, who does Saturday Night Live. He's the creator of this. But all the kids, well, they're not kids now. They're very much older. They're all back. But you know what, Phoebe? This show does not play it safe. It is one of the things about Kids in the Hall is that they always kind of straddle that line, and they do it tenfold in this one. I was actually shocked about the chances they took, but really funny. I had like big old belly laughs, and I watched this like late at night when everyone in the house was asleep. Probably woke them up. Couldn't help it. So funny. Did you watch the original? Do you know like what I'm talking about? Kids in the Hall.
I don't. I've heard of it before, but I've never watched it.
Oh.
But I'll definitely check out this reboot you're talking about because it sounds good. It sounds funny.
It is. It's just a sketch show. Just really, really fun stuff. So you can find it on Amazon Prime. All right, Phoebe, this has been fun, but here's what I need you to do, and that is stay right there because we got to take a little trip. That trip is beyond the list.
Let's go.
All right, Phoebe, here's what we do. We dig deep in the vast archives of WatchMojo. We pluck out a little top 10 list. And we like to go beyond that list. What does that mean? Well, it just means me and you get to talk about it more and give our personal opinions and relive some of the entries on the list. Today's should be interesting because I'm a big TV guy, and from the sounds of it, you watch a lot of TV too.
Yes.
It's the top 10 most controversial sitcom episodes ever. Now, this is controversial in the sense that when these episodes took place, it was controversial at the time. Based on media or whatnot. Not to say that we think they're controversial. And as you'll see, it's very much a product of the time period that they aired in. Sitcoms, though, are you a sitcom viewer? I like the classics.
Yeah, I mean, yes. The classics, yes.
And when I mean classics, I mean like 90s.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of a sitcom that I watch now. I don't know. Like I did watch recent-ish ones like Big Bang Theory. I know that's over.
Modern Family.
So fun.
It's so good. Like it's so good.
Yeah. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, that's ended. So yeah, I don't know if there's one that I'm really watching now.
Mm-hmm. I have like this image in my head of what a sitcom is, and it's like that like laugh track sound stage kind of vibe. But I guess it's true that the definition of sitcom has evolved so much that when you said Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I was like, is that a sitcom? But it absolutely is. It's just everything's changed so much.
It's changed a lot, yeah. But if you think back, you're right. The 90s, like your Home Improvement, your Full House, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You know, that's a sitcom too. The Cosby Show, all that stuff, right? All right, so let's start. So these are controversial episodes that took place in the sitcoms. Number 10 is a classic from the 50s, of course. I Love Lucy, clocking it at number 10. This is interesting because I just watched the they made like a movie. I think it's also on Amazon.
Yeah.
Where Nicole Kidman played Lucille Ball. The episode in question, and they talk about that there too, is she's pregnant. And back in the 50s, they had to dance around that word pregnant. They kept having to say she was expecting. And if you watch that movie that I talked about, it was a big deal. There was like meetings and there was all kinds of stuff. How could Lucy... Because then they had to... Well, how did she get pregnant, right? That was the big thing. Because in the show, I think they had 2 separate beds. Remember that?
Wow.
I remember watching the Flintstones. And this is an animated show, guys. The Flintstones in the 60s. And Wilma and Fred had 2 separate beds.
Sounds like they had marital issues.
Come on.
It's crazy how, like, the standards and, like, things that we deem as, like, shocking in television and movies has, you know, changed so much. And I think it's, like, in large part due to episodes of television like this, you know?
Yeah.
Lucille Ball was such, like, a pioneer in television, especially for women. And so I think, like, talking about this kind of stuff in any way that they could probably opened the door for a lot of other important conversations that happen, you know, throughout the years, which we'll get to later on this list. But, you know, just being bold and, you know, taking the heat. But imagine not being able to say pregnant on television. Like, it's insane.
I know. So if you go from that to like an episode of Euphoria, right? Like, come on.
Don't. It's too different.
So different. All right, number 9 on this list is another controversial thing back in the day, not now at all. The show was called Soap. It ran from 1977 to 1981, and right off the bat, I think it was like their first episode, they had Billy Crystal, his character, being introduced, Jody Dallas, and he was openly gay, and that was a big deal, I guess, back in the time. Now, there was some critiques from GLAAD, I believe, about his actual depiction, but I think the outrage was, you're having a gay character on your TV show? How dare you? And they were sent all kinds of letters and everything else. So again, now we can look at what.
Yeah, it's funny how, like, you know, when nowadays people ask, like, oh, why would we need so much representation in media? It's because of stuff like this, you know, like, yes, it was groundbreaking to have a gay character as a, you know, leading a television series, but, like, the representation was just not there, you know? So it's kind of like, it's balancing between, like, having representation and having good representation you know, perpetuating stereotypes and stuff like that. I definitely don't, you know, condone this performance or anything like that, but it's something to be said about, you know, introducing that character to begin with and kind of like taking those steps forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, number 8 is a show that I totally watched. A little guilty pleasure of mine is Boy Meets World. It ran from 1993 to 2000. Now, this episode in question, the controversy is around Corey and Topanga making I guess, I don't want to call it a pact, but they were going to lose their virginity on their prom night. So that's kind of what the episode was about. And I think it was pulled from some reruns. It was a lot of controversy around this.
Did you watch Yes, I watched Boy Meets World. I love Boy Meets World. It's so funny. I find it so funny that television shows take it upon themselves to teach children about like sex and losing your virginity and stuff like that. And I'm like, if your kids are learning from television what sex is about, then you're not doing your job as a parent. So maybe don't be outraged when they do end up learning about it on Boy Meets World.
Yeah, no, they did. And they Boy Meets World, for all its silly goofiness, they also tackled some other serious issues. I remember, was it the guy's name Sean?
Yeah,
right? The friend. He had. Remember, he had like that the absentee father.
Yeah.
He was always dealing with some kind of dark subjects. I don't know. I kind of like that show. They tackled a lot of different things. So.
Yeah, no, I just mean like parents shouldn't be outraged about that kind of stuff because you should be preparing your own child for these conversations, you know? Like Boy Meets World isn't responsible for teaching your kids about sex.
No. Can you imagine those parents now watching an episode of Euphoria?
My God, their heads would explode.
All right, number 7, this one, man, okay. The Bicycle Man
Oh,
is clocking in at number 7 from Different Strokes. I'm actually surprised that this is so high on the list. I could have expected it to be a little closer. This is one of those special, very special episodes, Different Strokes, where they dealt with a child molester, I guess, a predator. It's just so uncomfortable. I don't think I've ever seen the actual show, but I've seen the clips, right? Where
yes.
he takes these kids in and he's giving them treats and he's letting them watch cartoons, naughty cartoons, and it's just so uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah, it's like one of those things that when I watched it, it like disturbed me so much. You know, I guess it's like a good learning lesson for children, but again, like, why do children need to learn this lesson from this show?
Yeah, no, it was, yeah.
It's impactful, though.
Infamous. We all remember it, but yeah, man, Different Strokes. Who knew? Who knew they could go there? Number 6, Married with Children, another one of my guilty pleasures. This one is about the Bundys. The controversies around this episode where they were recorded getting it on, I guess, in a hotel, and there was some sort of blackmail going on, and networks were like, no, we can't, this is too controversial of a topic, so we took it off, and then it aired later on FX when they did like the reruns. I don't know, but I thought Married with Children was all about controversy, right? Like their jokes was all...
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of like to be expected from that show because it was, you know, a lot of adult humor and adult situational comedy, so... I don't see what the difference is.
The network censors took issue with the content. So it's so weird what they determine. Like if you look at movies, how they get certain ratings, it's so I don't even know. Like that I watched a movie where they tried to the movie's a documentary called "This Movie's Not Yet Rated." That's
I watched that too. I was just about to bring that up, talking about the rating system. It's crazy.
It really is. It really is. And I wonder if it's like that for television standards and practices, I guess is what they call it. It's probably evolved a little bit over time. But for networks, so we're talking like your ABC, CBS, Fox, is still very much there.
I feel like it's all political. It's like whether or not they have associations with certain organizations that would not be happy with them, you know, putting these. And it's just, I don't know. It's just all political, I think.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with it. Of course, if you're doing cable like HBO and Euphoria, you can show whatever. I promise not to mention Euphoria in every...
Name one other HBO show.
Well, Game of Thrones had their fair share of craziness.
Yes, they did.
That would blow people's minds back in the day. Number 5, we're at the midway point. Let's see what this is. This is a show called The It Crowd.
The IT Crowd.
Oh, okay. See, there you go. I never watched it. I'm like, The It Crowd? Even the IT Crowd doesn't ring a bell. What's this episode about? It's called The Speech, was the name of the particular episode, and it had to do with. Do you know what this is?
Yeah.
This is a British show. Okay.
Yeah. So the episode basically was about like one of the main characters like starts dating this woman who turns out to be a trans woman,
Yes.
and the episode ends with like a physical altercation. I watched the clip of the episode in question in preparation for this, just to kind of refresh my memory. And it's shocking.
This is a comedy, though, right?
Yeah, it's a comedy. It's played for laughs. It's not like, you know, a dark moment in the show, but it's quite dark. And I was quite shocked. I mean, it's crazy how much, you know, we've evolved. Yeah. Even over the past couple of years in representation of LGBTQ plus people on television. This is not a good example. Do
you remember the ending of Ace Ventura: Pet Detective? The original?
No.
What?
What is it?
What? You don't
what
remember
is
that?
it? No.
Oh, where they discover that the man that they're looking for is actually the police lieutenant woman, right?
Okay.
And the whole joke is that you know, well, Carrie starts throwing up when he discovers that it because he kissed this woman, and everyone else. It just, you know, they just make it a big punchline. I don't.
Yeah.
It's just an odd ending through today's lens.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like I said, things have changed so much, even over
So
the
much.
past couple of years, like even since the year 2000. But this to me was never that funny. And, it's just another reason why representation is so important nowadays to, break down those stereotypes and having trans people be the butt of a joke. Like,
Yeah, no, that's exactly what used to be very much the butt of the joke, and I'm glad that's gone to the wayside.
Me too.
Number 4 is Edith's Birthday. This is another one that's pretty infamous. All in the Family, of course, is the show. And this is pretty dark for this program where Edith almost gets raped
Yeah.
by an intruder. Like, it was pretty heavy stuff for a sitcom.
Yeah, I remember watching this and being like very disturbed. But, again, I think that this is kind of an important episode of television, dealing with the aftermath of a traumatic, experience like that, how your family can support you, how your family doesn't support you. It's a really complicated situation, but it's very disturbing, and it made me feel sick a bit.
And yeah, that's the thing. So you watch these characters and you see them in these kind of pleasant, funny situations, All in the Family. Edith is very, the high-pitched, the
Yes.
and then you see her in these very dramatic moments, and it really affects you. So
Yeah, it's kind of like the stark difference between like that normal situational comedy and then doing like a really serious episode like this.
Yeah.
It's even more impactful, I think, because you're really just not expecting it.
Yeah, like there's an episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air where Will and Carlton are profiled in the, and it's like, to me, it was like, what? You can't do that but it was more impactful because those characters that I know so
Exactly.
well. Number 3 is, the infamous Ellen episode. It's funny how the episode's name was the puppy episode,
Yeah.
but the episode in question is the one where she comes out. This was a big deal. I literally remember this being all over every news station. I mean, she was on Oprah talking about it. It was on TV Guide. It was on the news. The episode where she came out, and she was coming out in real life, obviously. Again, now, not a big deal. Back then, huge deal. And if you can believe it, after this happened, Ellen's show, it ended. I don't even think it lasted more than a season after. And she says that this was a big reason why.
Yeah, I can imagine that she really sacrificed a lot in order to, just be herself. Say what you will about Ellen and her legacy nowadays, but I think that this will go down as, one of the most impactful coming out stories in television history. She really empowered a lot of people. She sacrificed a lot in order to be her true self. It's crazy that someone just being themselves was so groundbreaking at that time, right? Like, it was so controversial and groundbreaking. Nowadays, people being themselves, it's what we have come to expect. But this is a moment in television history.
Absolutely. And she inspired other people like Kate McKinnon from Saturday Night Live has gone out to say that particular episode was one that really helped her when she was younger. So there you go. Number 2, we're getting close. This one, talk about ripped from the headlines today. We're talking Maude. Maude's Dilemma is the name of the episode. This is where Maude, and she's, how old is she? 47 in the series. She reveals that she's pregnant, and there's all kinds of questions. What's she going to do with the baby? And I mean, look at what's happening in the world today. This episode and this storyline would be so controversial today.
Yeah, even today, which, is disgusting. But again, great television episode. Impactful message and choice.
And I think it goes back to what you were saying too about the politics behind it. And who's gonna be outraged, who's gonna come after it. So I think that plays a big part in it. But yeah, that was a big deal back in when did it run? 1972, 1978. So we're talking the 70s.
Yeah.
70s. Crazy.
Well, you'd be surprised even today how many big networks have religious affiliation.
Yeah.
Even Disney's "Don't Say Gay" situation not that long ago. That's it's very telling.
Shocking. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that we don't know, especially with international markets too. a lot of these movies and shows will be sent off to China for syndication or viewing, and of course China's very strict on certain things, and that reflects on what they can do in the episodes, and there's a whole behind the scenes stuff that make these controversial.
Yeah, I remember there was a movie pretty recently, and if I'm not mistaken, it was Doctor Strange, and they said that they were releasing the movie in China and removing a scene that alluded to a gay character, but in reality it was only like less than a minute in the movie. So it's like, well, that's you know what I mean? Like, that's not like proper representation if this person's just getting a minute of the movie. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like,
there was Doctor Strange. There was also the Fantastic Beasts film as well.
Yes.
So there's a lot of that insanity. Okay, number one. I remember I saw this. I didn't realize at the time that it was so controversial, and it was an episode of Seinfeld, not the one you're thinking of. It's the Puerto Rican Day parade. The Puerto Rican Day, where they're stuck in the traffic. There is a scene that I could see very much that would outrage people, and that is where Kramer accidentally burns a Puerto Rican flag. But yeah, it was very stereotypical. There's a scene with Elaine, and she's climbing under the bleachers, and a lot of stereotypes being shown here.
Yeah, for sure. I can completely understand why people would be outraged by this episode. I actually watched it not that long ago, and I remembered, the controversy that surrounded it. And I think, like, playing ethnicity, race, anything for laughs is just not PC by today's standards. People are really more,
And this is a rare. Feel like for Seinfeld, this is a rare kind of miss for them. I feel like they usually tackle controversial, and they do it pretty well. I remember they had one where there was a reporter that thought that Jerry and George were gay, right? And they were like, "No, we're not gay." Not that there's anything wrong with that. They'd always, add that little bit of humor, and not this one. They didn't. It wasn't as smart as I would say. And this was in their last season too.
Yeah, but I can definitely see why people would be unhappy with that.
Yeah, it got taken off. I don't know if they still show it in reruns, but it was taken off. NBC had to do the whole apology thing. So there you go. Even Seinfeld courted controversy, folks. Hey, Phoebe, thank you so much for helping me go through all that.
Thank you. I feel like really good after that hard conversation.
There you go. Well, hey, listen, we're going to keep the conversations going with our Mojo Chats of the Week. Here is the star and the director of the much buzzed about film Pleasure. The movie is titled Pleasure. It follows a character named Bella who has dreams, aspirations of becoming a porn star. Of course, it's all very eye-opening, and I can't wait to break it down with the star of the film. Sophia, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I just recently watched this movie, and I literally can't get it out of my brain. Like I said, the word eye-opening rings true for me. Let's talk about your character. You are Bella. Well, explain it to people in your own words. Who Bella is.
So Bella is a very ambitious, smart, and intelligent young woman who goes to Los Angeles with the ambition of becoming the next big porn star. She's young and she's naive, and you get to follow her journey where she kind of battles between going for a career or maybe choosing what will give her quality of life in the end.
Yeah, and it's quite the journey that Bella goes on here. We see every step of the way. Why did you get involved with this project? Because I as soon as the movie was over, I was like, Sophia, she was so great. And I started doing this Googling, and I'm like, wait a minute. I expected your filmography to be this long list of films, but it really isn't. So this is like one of your first on-screen ventures, which is so great.
Yeah, this was actually my first time ever acting.
Was it really your first?
Yeah, it was my first. I've not gone to any like acting school or anything like that. I've never done classes. I kind of ended up on the audition. I guess it was the right time and place. Ninja had been searching for the main character for over 1.5 years, and she had auditioned thousands of Swedish young females. So she had started sending out character descriptions to people that she knew had big networks. One of them happened to be a club manager at a big club in Stockholm. And I happened at the time to go in therapy for about a dysmorphic disorder. So I was constantly putting myself through situations that made me feel uncomfortable. And one night I met this club manager, and he asked me, or told me that he had a friend who's making a movie and that he thought that I had what she was looking for, and asked me if I wanted to audition. So my initial thought was absolutely not. And that's why I ended up on the audition.
Wow. That's unbelievable to me, because when people watch this movie, I mean, Sofia, we see you in what I like to call kind of this fearless performance, where you're literally putting it all out there on screen and going through, like I said, this crazy journey. So congratulations on your first role. I mean, that's quite impressive. I mean, I'm assuming there's going to be more from you.
There is.
Okay, good.
Yeah, there is. I've already done two projects, and I have 2 more coming. So this is not the end.
Okay, there you go. Going back to Bella, the character, she's so fascinating to me. How did you prepare? Did you base this on someone else, or is this coming from your own brain?
No, but when I got the part, me and Ninja worked on developing the character together. We realized a couple months ago that Bella is actually like our child. She's a little bit of me, she's a little bit of Ninja, she's a lot of fiction. So to prepare to become Bella, a lot of it was to really understand her and to get to know her, in the sense of knowing what her reactions would be and how she would feel about things, what her thought process was, rather than her backstory and her background and what pushed her towards making this decision. And I think I did that pretty well. When we shot the film, there were scenes where I would like tell Ninja that there's no way Bella would do this, we have to do this instead, and we would change. But for the preparation, it was a lot about developing the character, but also understanding and meeting with real people from the industry, getting to ask all of the uncomfortable questions that you really want to know but don't really dare to ask. And yeah, just trying to make her as human and genuine and authentic as possible, because essentially she's the opposite of all the stereotypes and cliches that we usually think of when we think about people in the adult industry, which is very important because our prejudice is usually quite wrong. At least mine was very, very wrong.
Yeah, well, in a few words, you nailed it. You guys did a great job. No, I can't recommend this movie enough. And before we go, I mean, there's a lot of takeaways. There's a lot of themes that this movie touches on, but especially for younger girls and women that are going to watch it, what do you hope they take away from this film?
I hope that this film is relatable in the sense that we live in a male-dominated world, and no matter who you are, what you work with, you're going to have to use different strategies to succeed. But I hope that this movie kind of builds a bridge for the gap between people who work in the adult industry and people who doesn't. We tend to dehumanize them and distance ourselves from them, and I think that is very bad in the end. I think porn affects most of our relationships, intimate relationships. It affects the way that we view sex. It affects how we're taught about sex, but we're not taught how to consume porn or how to think about porn. So I really hope that this movie opens up the discussion about that.
I think it will. Well, let the discussions begin. And we do encourage people to check out Pleasure. Sofia, this has been, well, don't want to use the word again, but it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
The movie is titled Pleasure, and I've got the writer and the director, Ninja Thyberg, here to join me to chat all about this very buzzed about film. Hey, Ninja, how are you doing today?
Good. I'm very excited to finally get this film out to the US audience.
Well, listen, I've seen it, and I really do think it's an important film that other people should see as well. We're dealing with this character, Bella, who is an aspiring adult entertainment star, a porn star, if you will. Break it down for a little bit more. Give us people what they can expect out of the story portion of this film.
Yes, it's basically like we're following her it starts when she's arriving at LA, and it follows her into like on a journey into the porn world, and we get to discover it together with her. It's also like a film about friendship and betrayal, and but it's definitely something you've never seen before.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's done through the female gaze, which I thought was interesting, because seems to be, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like recently there's been a lot of movies that have to deal with that adult entertainment industry. We had something called Red Rocket not long ago, which was different. There was even a horror film called X. This is something very, very different. What kind of, I guess the question is, why did you want to tackle this particular subject? Was this something important to you, or was this something you had kicking around, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've been working with this subject my whole adult life from various angles, but I think one of the reasons is that like I've been working with the female gaze, and I think porn today, or like since the beginning of porn, I think like most of it is from a male perspective, so that's why it was like. It felt like a very I've been missing out. Like, I think it's very important that we start to add the female perspective on this as well, but it's also like I'm also using the porn industry as a backdrop to say something about like being a young woman in general. It's also like a film about patriarchy and capitalism and power structures that exist everywhere.
No, I got that definitely, the power structure 100% when I saw it. I guess this is all fictionalized. I mean, we have actors portraying these people in the film. It's all very, I mean, it feels real when you're watching it. It's unflinching, if you will, very raw. Did you base any of this on actual people out there? You don't need to tell me who or whatnot.
Yeah. Oh no, but the thing is that everyone in the film except the main character are people from the actual adult industry. So some of them play themselves, like Mark Spiegler, Aidan Starr, for example. Okay. They are themselves and have their real name. Then there are like a lot, like for example, the really bad guys in the film are played by really good guys in real life. So some of them play someone completely different than who they really are, but they all have this knowledge about this world, and that was really important to me to make it very authentic, because I've spent a lot of time, like this is, I really wanted to, the authenticity was really important, and I spent so much time doing research, and I wanted to get it right, so everything is based on things that I've witnessed and people that I met. At the same time, it's also based on my personal experience of being a woman in a situation that doesn't have anything to do with porn. So it's two things at the same time. It is a film about like portraying the porn industry from my perspective, but it's also like an allegory or a story about our society, it's, I mean, because it's showing some problematic aspects, but that doesn't have anything to do with people having sex on film. Like I'm sex positive. I think sex is a good thing, and the problems that the film is addressing in are more connected to power structures than the sex part of it,
Yeah, no, and you're right, and it is very eye-opening, like I said, for myself to view something like this, and it all sounds kind of glamorous because it's porn star, in the name it's star,
Mm,
but then you see the different stages, and you see Bella's journey throughout, from the bottom
mm,
and then what she needs to do to the top, and
mm,
that's for someone like myself, that's very, very eye-opening. Before I go, let's talk about Sophia, our
mm.
our main actress. I mean, wow, what a revelation she was. How did that come to be? How did that casting? How did you meet
Yeah,
Sophia?
I mean, I knew I needed, I had to find someone really, really good. But yeah, but it took me 1.5 years to find her, and we searched all over Sweden. And I'm so happy that I kept going, because like when I finally found her, she was everything I could ever have wished for and more. Like, she's carrying the whole film, and her performance is like, yeah, I've never seen anything. I think she's like doing the best performance I've ever seen in film, and she carried the films. And we, I also, I couldn't have done it. Like, we had such a close relationship, and she's been so, like, we created such a strong bond and developed it together, and so yeah, we really did this together as a team, since it's such a sensitive thing. And she, yeah, so I couldn't have done this with someone who I didn't really trust, and with this kind of connection and bond.
No, and I'm sure a lot of people are gonna take notice of her performance because she definitely brings it.
Mm.
Hey, Ninja, this has been fascinating. We do want to encourage people out there to check out the film. It's called Pleasure. Definitely see it and start that conversation because there's lots to talk about. Thanks again. All right, well, that's going to do it for this edition, everybody. Big thanks going out to Phoebe for bringing the fun, as she always does. And how cool was Sophia and Ninja? Make sure you check out Pleasure. It was really a great film. And till next time, well, I've been Mr. Hollywood, popping that culture.